Alrighty, welcome back to another video. This one today, we are going to be talking about common SuperCoach mistakes that either we make or ones that we see quite often. Now, there are so many mistakes, and this could be an endless video, but we have narrowed it down to kind of four main ones that we thought were good talking points to start off with this preseason. So the first one we'll touch on is that not going overboard on pods and being vanilla is okay. Now, we both, like looking at our starting teams the last few years, we've both seen that our teams are generally fairly vanilla, and we've only gone pods in really specific areas, ones we both liked. Last year you started with a couple of pods. Did you just want to talk about why you went mainly vanilla and why you went pods in certain areas?
I think the big reason is the best information that we're going to get about the new season is going to be those rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you go a lot of out there pods, they could be the guys you need to trade out really early. Whereas if you have a bit more safety in a few of those picks, then you can get on the guys that go off flyers. You can attack teams that look like they're going to be much improved in 2025, such as the Dogs last year. You could get on a Carraz early. If you have too many of those big pods and you miss those really common vanilla players, you're behind the 8 ball to start off with. What's your thinking on it?
Well, that's it. There's a reason they're pods. Like, they're not always going to hit, and quite often they don't. Like, sometimes you get really lucky. I got really lucky with Lomax last year. I picked him as a pod for solid reasons. Never thought he'd finish the season near an 80 average, so I got quite lucky there. But there's every chance that him going to the wing would fail, and he'd be averaging 60 the same as he would in the centres. So I think if you're taking those calculated risks, it's fine, and not all over the park. And there's also reasons why guys are super highly owned. So I think if you're starting base with vanilla and working a platform from there, that's probably the way to go. And we've seen all these pod teams before just crash and burn halfway through the season because they're trying to fix all these mistakes. When if they start at vanilla, they're not getting those mistakes.
I think a really easy test for it is if the guy that you're picking at 4% was at 40%, would you still want to pick him? And if that answer is no, then you know you're picking him just for that reason.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. We'll move on to the next point is preparation for the bye period, origin period. We all know how massive that part of the season is for SuperCoach, even though they've reduced that by the main buys to 13 players. And now we've got an even 18th player, so it should even be easier. But me last year, I thought I was going to that period well prepared. I wasn't. I was down players for that first buy. Really hurt me overall. So just making sure your preparation and you're setting up your team early enough so that you're covered for that period. How would you normally go about setting up for that period? When would you start to look to trade those buy period players in?
I don't think you need to go too early, but I think your general rule of thumb for me is you want to have enough trades to get an additional 2 than what you have. So if the buy period, first round of the buys is round 13, at the end of round 12, you should have 11 players if you still got a boost in hand. So that means you could bring in an extra 4 and get up to 15. If you don't have a boost in hand, I'd want to end round 12 with 12 prospective buy players. So you have 3 trades to get up to 15, because the likelihood is you are going to lose at least 1, if not 2. So the more you can limit yourself to getting hurt by carnage, the better. I think one of the ones last year I had went into the round preceding with 12 and no boosts, and I lost 3 players. So I ended up going in short 1 to the buy round, and that's the risk you take. The carnage is going to happen, so the more you can prepare and have those options, the better you're going to be, really.
And this year as well starts off a round earlier, first buy period or first origin round where all the players are out, or where most teams have the buy, is round 12, not round 13. So we're starting that preparation even earlier. So yeah, definitely something to consider. But we'll move on to the next point. Do you want to take this one?
As cash generation. So you hear a lot of the time that the early season is for cash generation, and then you get into points. I think you can get trapped by stopping your cash generation too early. You can start going in round 10. Oh, I've got my cash gen. My team value is pretty good. It's above a lot of the other teams. I'll go a points pick. But if you miss a cash gen pick that also makes points, it hurts. It stings. It's one of the things that can really damage your rank. So I think you always got to be still looking for cash generation all the way up until about round 21, round 22. At that point, purely for trades, you want to be covering injuries, maybe finalizing your team. But up until that point, cash generation remains important. Otherwise, you find yourself making compromised picks right at the end.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was a victim of that last year. I had by round 8 or 9, when I was in top 10 overall, I had one of the highest cash gens in the entire game. I remember looking back through the top 100, top 200, I was probably like the 4th highest cash gen out of that lot. So I was all sweet. And then, by that buy period, I'm getting hammered because I stopped focusing on that cash gen. I stopped incorporating that into my thinking when trading. And that was a huge part of the reason I had such a fall from grace there. Look, that's a good point there made about cash gen. That kind of does also flow into the last point here. Do you want to start with that one?
This is my favorite. This is easily my favorite. But it's from learning. Swallowing your pride. When you make an error, recognize it, say I made an error, and fix it. It's really that simple. Like for me last year, the example would be Tom Trbojevic put up a big ton in the buy round. He didn't look When Turbo put up that big ton in the buy round, that's when I should have gone, okay, I've made a mistake. I should have got him in. There's no other fullback with good matchups coming at the moment that I can counter with him. But I was convinced that he wouldn't continue it, that he didn't look as good as his points showed, and that error cost me. And that if I simply just made the call and got him straight in, my rank would have been better. Could have been top 50, could have even pushed further down if fortune favored me those last few rounds. So
yeah, and thankfully I didn't make any mistakes last year. None that ruined my entire season.
Yeah, if someone realised after they missed Angus's first price rise and first big score and got him in the following week, they would have been a lot better position. But luckily, no one here would make such an error.
No, thank God. But anyway, look, we'll finish it there. Just again, there's 4 key points. Don't go overboard on the pods. Or take those calculated risks, not everywhere, but where you feel comfortable. Be prepared for that buy period. Focus on that cash gen for most of the season. If you're in a good position early, don't stop the train. Keep it rolling. And the last one, swallowing your pride. Recognize you've made an error and know how to fix it. So we'll stop there and we'll move on to the next one. Thanks, guys.